Welcome, Rule. Red Morning. Carl, me. How you doing, Carl?
Oh, I'm doing well.
I gotta swear, now you're just messing with me, man.
No, I'm actually messing with the Chef Big Hat in the chat who said Carl should go full helium.
Oh, fuck, I can't even hear. All right. That's fine. I guess we're going with that one. I'll do a little preamble for the topic. Um, the topic was something I saw coming up a little bit within like my private community, locker room, Patreon, go signing up, whatever. But a lot of guys like they went from sexless to having sex often. They went from a crappy marriage to a good divorce. They have plates. And then all of a sudden they still act like that same unattractive guy. And I think Carl and we talked about it before, didn't we? Where guys who used to be fat, lost a bunch of weight, look great, and and they still act like that inner fat kid. Or I think we did it with money too, where guys who were poor and then become rich act like poor kids, and it ends up costing them. I think we did.
Well, I do
Did we
think,
talk
like,
about that one?
yeah, but it's kind of like you have to you have to get your head around the fact that you're not that person anymore. And a lot of the time it has a lot of ingrained things in you because the response mechanisms that you've been doing for fucking years. Like, I once had an interview with this girl who used to be really big,
Mm-hmm.
and then she got thin. She was like, every time I go into a store, I act like the fat bitch who's just going to knock over a vase with my huge ass.
I couldn't imagine. Imagine if you were a fat girl and that was like a real concern. Like you have to walk in the store because most, like, I know how some are like closed off, so you have to do that little sideways shuffle to get through some things there, and the girl just looks like, yeah, I guess I didn't need a hat today. I don't know why fat broads make me laugh.
Well,
Oh,
I think that's a weird thing with like fat girls is like they try the hardest. They can go in one or two directions either.
mm-hmm,
They try their hardest not to get any attention at all,
mm-hmm.
or they go the other way and they try to get as much attention as fucking possible by on top of being fat. They dress outlandishly. Like, Penelope Garcia from, I think it's one of those crime procedural shows. I can't remember which
Oh,
one.
I actually do know who you're talking about. The unsub one.
Yeah, that
And
one.
she's like the
Where,
Chloe. There's a
yeah.
2000s reference for you.
So it's kind of like they kind of go in either one, but fat guys, I think some of them get really loud and boisterous, others just kind of slink away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of, they learn these mechanisms in their head to avoid being called out or to make fun of themselves so others don't. It's one of those things you start to notice when you change something. Like if you, let's say you used to be broke and now you got money, it's no longer okay to make jokes about broke people.
Well, yeah, because now you're just a crass asshole.
Or, same thing, if you were fat and then you got skinny, you're now no longer allowed to make fat jokes.
Which is weird. From guys, I noticed this. For a lot of ones that lose like 100 pounds in that, they're like that old meme about like the Italians that get off the boat coming to the States, then turn around and yell at all the immigrants to get out of their country. I swear to God, it's the weirdest thing. They act like I lost the weight at this exact moment in time. Why can't you have done it exactly as fast as me, if not faster? Which is weird because it alienates them. They're probably the most irritating people to be around. Like they don't just hate fat people, but they outwardly hate fat people. If there was a hard R for fat people, they'd be using it out in the open. And I know a part of that though is part of it is like former fat, like for fat people or poor people, whatever. They kind of get angry at those people because they're a reflection of their previous failures. And since it's hard to kind of own up to that, you have to project it onto somebody else. I see it with husbands and wives all the time, married red pill. The guy will start losing weight, getting attractive. Girls start like flirting with him outside of the marriage, and his wife is still a dead bedroom girl. And he just looks at her and he's like, they always have the same post where it's like, I don't even feel like having sex with with my wife. Is that normal? And you're like, yeah, it's pretty normal. It's weird though. It's normal. Here, 1 second.
Yeah, but it's kind of like one of those things I've written a little bit about it, that if you really want the motivation to change yourself, you kind of have to disdain who you are now.
Mm-hmm.
But that has a way of expanding. That instead of just targeting yourself with it, you start to target others with that same disdain.
Yep. It's just
And
one of
then
those things.
kind of like why ex-smokers are some of the worst cunts to be around.
Other than the constant irritation they have, just for not having a cigarette, or are you just talking about how they shit on guys who still smoke?
Yeah, exactly. Like, they're the worst kind of ex-smoker. Just because they constantly have to be like, oh yeah, I don't smoke anymore, I quit smoking, why can't you quit smoking, and so on. I quit myself, so I am that asshole.
It's still weird. Are there smokers anymore? Like, I don't see guys who smoke. Once I moved from Montreal was the last place I saw like actual people in like their 20s and 30s who smoke cigarettes. I think it's one of those things that's dying off. What's that?
I think the only ones I see now smoking cigarettes are Eastern Europeans.
Fair enough. The black people of Europe, they have that, what's the lifespan of like a Slav, like 54 years or something like that? That's why they're constantly importing Ukrainian girls down here for Bubba.
So I've seen a lot of like various people from the Baltics and Eastern Europe still smoke, but people in Western Europe, for the most part, it's people over 50.
Yeah. One of those things that's
kind of funny though, because it seems like it's the people who still smoke are the kind of smokers who live to be like 100.
I was wondering about that too. COVID's kind of gotten me thinking about cigarettes. Because you know how there are people like, oh my God, COVID's going to kill everybody. And then there's other people going, oh, you'll catch it. It's like a flu. You'll be fine. And it almost reminds me of that 1960s argument. It's like, well, my grandfather smoked and he lived to be 174. Meanwhile, somebody else is dying in their 30s of lung cancer.
Yeah, but I think that's one of those things that come back to human variability. It's like I was watching a TikTok the other day about some dude he's one of those annoying people who quit drinking. And he runs a TikTok basically on people who quit drinking. And some dude was like, yeah, I only drink 2 days a week, but I kill off 2 750 ml bottles of vodka in that time. And this guy is like, is that too much? And the dude was like, well, that's about the same amount. That's about the same amount that I used to drink, but I would spread that out over a week, so I was just constantly drinking.
Mm-hmm.
You essentially hit your liver with the freight train 2 days a week.
And I know liver's supposed to, like, they're the only organ that can grow back, but I think it can only put up with so much. Although, Jesus, my aunt used to do that. She would drink a 40 ounces of vodka, like, every 2 or 3 days. She ended up dying before she even hit, like, 55. Actually, a lot of people from that age demographic seems to have died from smoking. That's when my dad died. He was 54. Ooh. Quick break here. Thank you, Alfonso H, for the super chat. New listener. Love the kayfabe video. Dude, Carl, I never told you about this. You know I have that video on kayfabe where I talk about theater and I use WrestleMania 6 as the example, right?
Yeah.
WWE has been putting copyright strikes on it like 3 times now. And I look, it's for like literally 3 frames too much of footage. I had to edit out 3 frames to finally get it through the filter. And that fucking thing, I've been releasing it every week for like all month. And every week it does better than all my other videos. But I think guys finally understood about the lying thing here. Anyways, I'm just whatever, bragging about that. Yeah, fat people, smokers. What are the other ones? Drinking, money, pussy. I think those are like the 5 big areas that people went without or too much, and then they went the other direction, and then they become insufferable, and they can't stop thinking like that former fat kid.
Oh, by the way, just in reference to the thing that goes on in chat about what happened and why I'm not on Rule 0 anymore, for the most part, the truth is I dislike one member of the panel something intensely. Guess who it is? Now you can gossip about something else.
Yeah. Oh, are they gossiping in there?
Yeah, they're gossiping about...
William. All right, buddy. Look at this.
I just thought for fun I'd just drop that in there and see if I can create some fun drama.
Dude, fuck. Every time you do this. All right, we're just gonna... There we go. Make things easier. I'm trying to keep autism out of this chat. I don't know. I'm trying something new where I sit further back. The problem is my monitor and keyboard are over there. And so it's like boomer-sized text on the side here, and I can't see shit. Yeah, I don't know. I'm surprised people don't realize that you don't do... Like, this isn't your living. You don't do this. This is for you as you do this because you like me, which is fucking weird. I don't know why you would. Like, you have a business, you have a company, and you run shit, and you're billing hours, and anything you do here is basically time you're not spending making money. So if anything, like, guys, I'll put it this way: if I was paying Carl for his time right now, this podcast would have to be making like Seinfeld viewership numbers. I'm just saying. Oh, here we go. And then Marty with this snide thing.
No, but I like Rule Zero. It's just a matter of not having enough time, so I do the topics that I find very interesting.
Yeah.
Plus,
And to
we have
be
a lot
fair,
of
I don't
guys who are
think.
trying to.
Oh, go
We
ahead.
have a lot of guys who are trying to make this their living and are working towards that. So it's better that they get the stage space so they can eat.
Yeah, look at that. Very kind. There, take that for your drama. And then Gregory McGrath, thank you. $20 super chat. Pay my bills, drink, eat, and smoke hard. I'm an ICU nurse. Oh, shit. Does this mean... So how's your dancing skills? No.
No, but this is actually true with the whole thing with people in medicine.
Yeah.
They have some of the most insane lifestyles I've ever seen. Like, one of my friends is a surgeon, and he'll come off like a 22-hour surgery session and be like, shit, I need to get something to eat. All I've eaten all day were cake I stole from the nurses. I'm going to go smoke a cigarette, and I'm going to do cocaine.
Fair enough. All right. If I pause on the thing, it's just because I'm doing some moderation stuff in the chat.
No
here.
worries. Yeah, I saw they were kind of...
Yeah, my sister's a nurse, actually, and my mom became a nurse after her second divorce as well. I'd wholeheartedly agree, because my sister, when we used to party, because she's only like 4 or 5 years older than me, she was big fan of the nose candy. She would be like a basic bitch horse girl by today's standards. And yeah, when she gets in the nurse, and it's all of her old like party friends are all the nurses now. All of the old, some of the girls even I slept with back in the day. She's like, she works with them now. They keep asking about me and stuff like that. It's very weird. Well, not always, but like occasionally. But I don't know, something about the nursing profession where you have to be like a former hoe and that's where you go. I don't know.
Either that or become a kindergarten teacher or something.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Do they still have cute kindergarten teachers, or is it back to like, the fatty school marms? Well, I guess there's no school anymore.
School marms now, I think. But then again, I don't make a habit of hanging around kindergartens. I'm not allowed within 200 feet of one.
Good answer. Good answer. Wait, what? I guess we're going off topic here. All you guys, quit distracting us with your weird drama. Yeah, fat people, former things. I was thinking the sex angle for this one, because I had it myself, where like you weren't having sex. I think I was like a later bloomer. I was maybe 18. But then I was still acting like the unattractive guy. Meanwhile, I was still getting like positive reinforcement because I was starting to look attractive. And I swear to God, thinking back when I was writing the book, I was thinking back to all my stories and stuff to be applicable. I had thought of at least like a half dozen curls in college alone that I could have smashed, but completely fucked it up because I still thought of myself as like that inner virgin. And I'm wondering how prevalent that is among guys.
Yeah, I had that same thing. Where it's like you kind of start looking back and you're like, yeah, I could have smashed these girls in high school, could have smashed these girls in college.
Yep.
Why the fuck didn't I go for it? And then you start to wonder, should I go back and try and hit that now? And it's like, nah, it's been a few years. I'm just going to go find new prospects.
Yeah, well, yeah. Oh, yeah, you haven't done your high school reunion yet, have you?
No.
Oh, dude, I know, and everybody's like, oh, why would you go do that? But for me, I have like a memory block, so I kind of went back to go. It was like that movie Memento. I got to run this tape backwards and see what the hell just happened. And yeah, I run into everybody, and I was like, holy shit, why are people my age so goddamn old? Then it got me freaked out, but then I guess I was the guy that hasn't looked any different than when I was 17, so I can live with that.
Yeah,
but then they're the same way, too. They were the same rednecks, and they haven't changed a lick. Like, even though they're, I don't know how old they are now, 38, 39, 40, 41, all those ages, and they're still acting like the 20-year-olds, because they haven't, at least the girls, so they haven't really understood. They're past the wall, they're a little older, there's some age-appropriate activities you should be doing, and ones that you aren't.
No, I think that's actually one of the ones I'm struggling with now, kind of resetting to the idea of getting older, because I'm kind of starting to get what my dad meant when he said, like, oh yeah, I'm 50, but I still feel like I'm about 20. Because I don't think update your mental age in that respect.
No, I
And
don't
then you
think
get
so.
one of those moments where you see like someone who used to be in a TV show you watched as a kid who's about your same age, and you're like, holy fuck, they got old. And you're like, holy shit, I got old.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know how to describe that, because I know we talk about the neuroplasticity and that your brain kind of gets into a rut and just sticks with it unless there's some kind of trauma. Do you think there used to be trauma? Or do you think it's people have always just kind of mentally hit that age and then that's where they stay for the rest of their life?
I don't think it's trauma related. I just think it's kind of a natural adaptation.
Fair enough.
Because we all know those people who, you have people who get old, and then you have people who get old. Because you have people who are like, yeah, you have like Danny Glover in fucking Lethal Weapon. Like, I'm too old for this shit. You have those people.
Yeah.
Like the people who are like, yeah, I would come, like you're in your mid-30s and you're like, hey, let's go day drink at a strip club. And they're like, no, I'm too old for that shit. I can't do it anymore. And you're like, Jesus, dude. And then you have the people who are like the 70-year-old in there day drinking on a Monday, just tossing ones at the strippers.
You're making it sound like it's almost an excuse for things you do or do not want to do. Fuck, I haven't been to a strip club. I don't know how long it's been since I've been to a strip club. Oh, I do. At least before, when I first moved to Toronto. So it had been like 4 years ago. Because when we first came here, my buddies took me to one. And I was very unimpressed with Ontario's strip club scenes. I was almost like a connoisseur. Like I could tell you which areas I like them. Like in BC, it's awesome because they're paid by the show. So you tend to get more of like an entertaining venue. Alberta, the strip clubs are like commission based. So the girls are playing loony games and toonie games on stage. Basically, you're like throwing coins at their hoo-ha and that's how they make their money. Montreal, mob owned. So it's essentially like soft prostitution. America's got that stupid law where you can't have fully nude and alcohol. So you can either see titty with beer or fully nude with like a Mountain Dew. So I just call that retarded. Mexico, it's kind of got like the same thing as Montreal where you're like MS-13 is running the strip club and girls have track marks. Europe was okay, but it felt a bit coldish. And I never tried any Asian strip clubs, so I have no idea what they're like, except for Thailand. And all I got to say for that is just like, leave your morality at the door. Just pray that the one that you got the hots for is actually a girl. That's all I can say.
Well, I would say for Thailand, I would say that what's the difference between like a beer bar and a strip club? Because they're pretty damn close. I think the weirdest thing I ever went to in Thailand was a blowjob bar.
Blowjob bar? Like the drink or the... Oh, never mind.
No, like you actually go to like a bar. You order a beer, and if you want, you can go into like this stall and get head from a girl while you're drinking.
Was that in Bangkok or Phuket?
That was in Phuket.
Fuck. If that was in Patong Alley, how did I not find out about that one? Because I remember, because you go all the way down to the end, and there was Madame Wong's ass-smacking good time, where you had those ass-smacking ones. And then a couple doors down, there was the one where the girls would like pull out turtles and all kinds of like animals from their hoo-ha. And then they had that big row of outdoor bars. And then you had the little hotel just behind it to the right again. And then there's a t-shirt place. So after you spilled a bunch of drinks on yourself, you could just go buy another shirt. And then somebody would offer to dry clean your stuff and take it back to your hotel for you, which was sweet. Very kind people. Very nice country.
The funniest thing is, like,
yeah,
I did once hear that the sex industry made up about 20% of Thailand's gross national product, but there was no word in the language for prostitution. I'm not sure if that's true, but if it is, it's hilarious.
That is kind of funny. Plus, they have the most like attractive men in the world there. That's what always kind of scared me. That was my rule. Is like if any tens in Thailand had to be dudes. And I don't want to say I was wrong because I'm pretty sure I wasn't wrong. Although my one friend, he swears it was a girl, so I couldn't even tell you. We'll see. I guess I'll catch up on this quickly.
With that, when I was
yeah,
I was just going to comment on that. When I was still doing Tinder full time, I did notice that you could always tell who were like the transsexuals on there, just because they actually put effort into their profile. Like all their pictures would be in like full fucking glam makeup. They'd be well dressed. The photos were well lit. They were well, technically executed. And then there's some real girl next, like no fucking makeup, hair is a fucking mess. The bio is only fuck me in the ass or else swipe left or some shit like that. No effort whatsoever.
Makes sense, though. Yeah, this is a guy. So they still have, hey, speaking of the thing, old mental models. The guy becomes a chick and then still thinks like a guy where I got to put a bunch of effort in here. Otherwise, I'm not going to get any quality. All right, I'm going to crush out these super chats quickly. And then I got a story for you. Speaking of like Tinder and TikTok and that. So Irish Alpha, thank you. €10 super chat. A fun fact, a day celebrated in the AA diary is the day of its founder's, Dr. Bob's last drink. He was boozed up by co-founder just before he performed a serious operation. Jesus. I hope, and I know this probably is more common. You know what? I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole. Carl, have you ever done work for the medical industry? Is like drunken surgeons a thing?
Never. Drunken is probably a thing. I mean, everyone works a bit hungover. That surgeons, I found they like uppers more than they like alcohol.
Oh, thank God then. I would much rather have a coked up guy working on my heart.
No, like coke and amphetamines seem to be like the big thing doctors love.
Mm-hmm.
At least if they were going to do it while working. I actually heard of a huge scandal where it was like doctors were prescribing each other's amphetamines to be able to handle like 36-hour shifts.
Oh, damn. Fuck, work hard, play hard. You guys want that 6-figure income? These guys are earning $250,000 a year. Get on it. What's the don't outwork the crackhead?
Oh, you can't outwork a crackhead, man.
Yeah. And then I guess Ugly D here for 250 PHP. I don't even know what a PHP is. Do you know what currency a PHP is, Carl? It's a what?
No, PHP, I was going to say it's a programming language. But it's
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Philippine currency?
No, whichever.
PHP is a programming language. But...
Well, I guess we'll find out. Anyways, Ugly D, long-time member of the channel, good to see you again. There's merit to changing slowly. It gives you time, gets used to the new environment. You're slowly creating yourself. Quick and constant feedback loops are key, I guess. Child in a man's body oftentimes. I think that's part of it. Because a lot of people, and I agree, I'll use the rich people example too, Carl. I want to hear what you got to say. You know how like new rich, guys who are brand new, they're rich. They kind of walk in, they have that Fresh Prince fish out of water thing. They don't know any of the social norms in that. I argue they never really quite adjust, not fully. Their kids do. But I'm not sure like how, I have a feeling it's like 80%. You can change maybe 80% to one of these like paradigm shifts, but you're never going to get to 100% because I think it's one of those things you just have to be like a natural speaker of. I could be off here, so I'm curious your thoughts.
I think if you're going to change, I think slow change is better, and it's most likely it's going to be more sustainable as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because like if the thing I've noticed when someone makes a radical change very quickly, it could be like going on a crash diet, like you have something called the velocity diet that was in vogue a while back, which is like a protein-sparing modified fast where you just do like protein shakes like 3 times a day.
Right.
You can drop quite a bit of weight on it. But then once you start eating normally, you just gain it back for the most part. And then you have the same thing with money, where if someone like wins the lottery and suddenly they have like 100 million, and then 5 weeks later they're broke.
Oh yeah, isn't that like almost all lottery winners? They're broke within 5 years? If they haven't been murdered by their family first?
And most of the time, I think that comes down to, if you grow up rich, there's an education that comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're kind of trained to, what to do, what not to do. You're trained to spot gold diggers. You're trained to spot people who are just after your money in other ways. You're trained to spot con men and the likes. But if you just get a lot of money quickly, you have none of that training. And then there's the old saying, a fool and his money are quickly parted. I think that's what happens if you gradually make more and make more, you will slowly get better at managing money if you do it right.
Yeah. Well, then I was thinking there are some
parts of like the...
Uh-huh.
There are some parts of the growing up broke that you never get rid of. Like the scarcity mindset around money usually sticks, at least it sticks with me. And then you have the aspect of your habits. some of them are so ingrained. Like, I still love like cheap white bread because there's something nostalgic about it.
That's me with cheap chocolate. I totally feel you.
And part of that is just, it's a preference you had as a kid that just means something more than the actual thing. So I'm not sure if you can ever fully adapt, to be honest, to new circumstances. I think it would take a lot of time.
Well, and here's my transition thought to you too, is pickup. That's like the standard narrative for most guys who bothered to learn like pickup artist stuff, is that they were a virgin for way too long, and so they follow the dude with the top hat and the aviator goggles, and they learn how to sleep with chicks. If it's kind of the same windfall. Like, you were never able to get laid, now you are. And I'm wondering, and it's like we always say too, what are the other things? The girls usually get started at like 13 about the sexual marketplace, so they have like tons of experience. A guy has to play catch up. But we do make the case that you're a guy, you're in your 20s right now, you'll catch up just fine, even though you're missing out that first 10 years of experience. So is that different? Or do you think it's the same thing? Ultimately, even though a guy will catch up, he's never quite going to be on that same level as, say, a natural. Always wondered about that one. I wouldn't know how to prove it one way or the other either.
I would say the last 10% are probably going to be missing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just based on most naturals. They start trying to sleep with chicks when they're like 13.
Mm-hmm.
And that added bonus of having it ingrained in you when you're going through it's same as lifting. Best time to start lifting is when you're going through puberty.
Yeah. 100%.
Because you're basically naturally on steroids, and your body is prepped for change, so it adapts much faster and much quicker, and that stays with you forever.
And you can't, if you snap your shit's back next week. Like, it's impossible to hurt yourself as a teenager unless you really go too hard. I agree though, way better than a guy at 50 who has no bone density. God knows the entire works.
Well, it's one of those things I'm noticing as I'm getting older. Like, I started a calisthenics program because I got sick of not going to the gym. And you start to notice that you actually have to warm up before you do fucking body weight exercises now.
What? I'm going to have to see. Actually, you know what? That makes sense. I do injure myself a lot. Although I've always injured myself a lot. Maybe I've just always been an old man. But here's a good example too. PHP with Ugly D here. For him, it's the money one. It's like he doesn't spend money, even though he has a high income for his age. All of the sense to spend right at 30, 35. I think that's the biggest one. Is like, how do you spend money with a poor mindset versus a rich mindset? Like, I'm kind of the same way. I'm more on the frugal side. But only because I don't really want a lot of things.
Well, I end up being on the frugal side too, mostly because I like investing.
Yeah.
But it's one of those, you have the people who go full on consumption and overconsume. I think we talked about that in an earlier show. And then you have the people who go too frugal. Like the people who are cooking their lasagna in the fucking dishwasher to save on energy.
Like that, what's that TLC show they have? PewDiePie's like reviewing them now, where the chick, she's like so good at saving water, they have like communal baths outside her trailer. And I was like, come on. That's like how people lived in the 1930s. What the fuck is wrong? And of course she's obese, so I'm like, apparently you can afford calories. But I think for those people, it's like veganism, where it's not just a lifestyle choice. It's not a pragmatic solution to things. It's almost like an identity. And they base their identity on consumption, but in their case, the lack of consumption. It's like vegans. I haven't eaten any meat today. And the hoarders are like, hey, I haven't spent any money today on like necessities. I reuse my toilet paper. What have you done with your life?
But like, have you ever seen like a rich person with spinners on their car?
Oh, no. Dude, I don't think I've ever seen rich people with like carbon fiber hoods. I've never seen one with underlights. Actually, I saw one. One of Rich's friends has like had like a, I don't even know what the class. It was one of those Mercedes ones, like the $150,000 models. He had carbon fiber stuff on his, but he made the company that made them. So I was like, all right, he gets the pass. Which, by the way, is the funniest thing I've ever heard, where the guy was saying that story. He's like, yeah, these super high-end luxury cars, nobody makes aftermarket parts for them, so I started a company that did it. It's like... There's your rich person problems. Would a poor guy even think about that? They would just buy a car that has more aftermarket parts. They buy their Honda Civic, you know?
Yeah, because, I mean, that's how you look like hood rich, to use that term. You take a cheap car and you trick it out.
Oh,
But
dude,
if you're actually rich, you buy a car that doesn't need any tricking out.
Mm-hmm. Or just have a driver.
I would probably go that way. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of driving myself.
Me too. Honestly, I used to love
Mainly because
driving.
you're not-
It's outside of the city, though. In the city, it's just a pain in the ass.
Yeah, like if you're doing like highway driving, that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
But try driving in fucking Paris, man.
Oof. And I've heard they have a very, like, fuck you attitude towards traffic, too. Where it's kind of like everybody thinks they're on the F1
like,
circuit.
Well, try to get out of the huge roundabout in the center of Paris around the L'Arc de Triomphe.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically, you can be stuck in that for like 47 hours straight if you don't just like, okay, I don't care if I crash my car, fuck you, I'm getting out.
So what's that, Simpsons? Sometimes the best
car.
defense is a good offense.
But like, you can't find a car in Paris that doesn't have dings in it.
Oh. Yeah, I know China is like that too, with the very horrible thing. I've heard Italy is just famous for being an asshole on the road. Canada's not so bad until you get to Montreal. People there are very big about fuck you. But then they have that little, because I don't know if you know, Montreal's kind of known for its potholes because of its shitty infrastructure and the mafia ties. So there's like the running gag in Montreal that if you see somebody driving straight through Montreal roads, it means they're drunk. And if they're driving all wobbly, it just means they're straight because they can actually feel the potholes and it swerves them off. Oh, India. Yes. Oh, dude, India. India has the worst driving. Like, they don't give a fuck. Because they have 1.3 billion people. I remember I was in Chennai. They had this giant garbage truck with like 30 people hanging off the sides and that, driving down the highway, weaving in lines. They cut off a tuk-tuk and almost killed the poor white people that were traveling in the goddamn thing. I was like, how the hell? And why do they even have a garbage truck? Because everybody was just dumping their shit in the river anyway. But whatever. It's Chennai. Chennai is like the Bible Belt of India, from what I understand. Which is probably why I'm never going back to India. Oh, dude. There was a cow downtown.
On this topic, though, I think it's actually useful to travel if you've changed things about yourself.
Ooh, I would actually agree with that.
Or to move. Because it's one of those contexts that when you start to improve yourself, the environment around you will cheer you on for like the first 30%. And then they'll start trash talking you. For the first 30%, they're supportive. Then for the next 30, they're talking shit behind your back. And then for the last 30, they're talking shit openly to your face.
That sounds an awful lot like learning French, dude. No, I'm not joking. Like when you first learn French, it's exactly like that. People are just happy you're trying to learn the language, and so they're very supportive. And then you get a little bit better, and there's something called being Englished, where they'll just switch to English because they're like, yeah, I don't have time to watch you fumble your way through the fucking conjugations. And then a little bit better than that, people get angry at you because like, how do you not know this shit, you fucking pleb? That's got to be part of the human condition. Then there's no way that mirrors that perfectly.
No, the reason why I got into it is, once you're in an environment, people will rarely change with you. Because the human preference in general is towards the status quo.
Mm-hmm.
So, if let's say you live in a relatively small town, that it's small enough that everyone knows who you are. And you've been, let's say, a fat dude that doesn't get laid for most of your life. If you start losing weight and suddenly you become attractive, that perception of the town of you won't change.
Oh, true. They'll sabotage you, dude.
So you actively need to move.
Mm-hmm. I wholeheartedly agree there. A lot of guys. I think that's where that meme comes from, where I got red pilled and now I can't hang out with any of my friends. I think a lot of it, like I know some of it is just guys who start trying to red pill everybody and they become that idiot who's like, I just found Jesus and he's trying to convert you. But I think a lot of it too is that people would rather sabotage your change because it's easier to make you revert back to normal than it is for them to change how they think about you as a person. I really do.
Yeah, plus, if you've been kind of like the black sheep of the family, maybe your family needs that black sheep in order for it to function. You need someone to absorb the dysfunction.
Oh, you need a villain. I think that's what our family did. Our
Yeah, in a
stepdad,
sense.
everybody hated him.
So, and traveling also puts you in a different mindset. That's why chicks, when they say yeah, I'm just going to travel for a year and explore, they mean I'm going to get a lot of dick that none of you will ever know about.
There's no dick. It didn't count. They just hung out. Nothing happened. No, most white guys have babies with super curly hair. What are you talking about, Carl? Trust me, I just know it's your baby. You can just feel these things. It's intuition.
So it's just one of those observations I made with, and when you travel, you also learn to see yourself in a different way. So I think that can help you kind of speed up that change. It works with red pill. The red pill, it works with, and add to it, if you're going to practice pickup, it's advisable to do that in a place where it won't come back to haunt you.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because you either need to be in a huge city where everyone where you can be anonymous or relatively, or you need to be in a place that's away from your normal routine. Because let's say you don't want a bunch of your coworkers to walk in on you while you're running game on some girl in a bookstore, for instance.
Right.
And if the town is too small, then it's also going to be one of those issues where if you have 2-3 plates, they're going to start catching you in different places. Like I once took a girl to this bar I wanted to check out. It was a kind of a small, cozy place. And there were 2 other girls I've slept with the same week in that bar.
Did that work against you though? Because that's always the meme, is that like girls handle jealousy different.
It worked for me, I think, in the end, but it's also one of those awkward moments where if one of those girls is a little bit unbalanced, that shit can blow up.
That's always the risk. But I mean, that was the one thing that I kind of loved about your 50 day thing, was that you found out that all this worry about crazy chicks doing crazy shit, it's for the most part overblown. You didn't get any Me Too accusations, no drinks thrown in your face, nothing. The craziness you get is very dealable crazy. Which is weird. You think even from like a statistical standpoint, though, at 53, you should have run into 2 chicks that were full on bipolar, just by like flat out numbers.
Probably did too, because I did have a couple of cutters.
Oh, self cutters or cutting you? Because I'm pretty sure that'd be like I'm pretty sure you're not going to put up with that.
No, self cutters.
Oh, okay.
No, self cutters. It was
just
I noticed too late because like I had one girl who had cut marks all the way down her arm.
Mm-hmm.
So that one I just ejected from real fucking quick. And I just told her my name was Ryan, that I'm actually from Canada. I'm just there on vacation.
Oh, dude, that explains so much. There was a chick in the elevator tried to stab me last week. You fucking guy.
Yeah, probably her.
Yeah, probably her.
And then the other one, she cut her inner thigh.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I noticed that, it was kind of too late to abort.
Jesus. And here, was the rule about the sex being any better, or was it about the same?
It's about the same.
Yeah, because that's...
Well, I do kind of subscribe to the theory that crazy women are better in bed. At least that's been my experience.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not in terms of them being quantitatively better. It's more like they are willing to do whatever you want, no questions asked.
So they're a force amplifier. See, that's what I was thinking, because I've heard all that, like, they say divorced chicks or single moms looking for a dad, so they try harder. Fat chicks try harder. Girls who do coke try harder. And I found it was kind of the opposite. It's like you really couldn't tell. There was no outside marker. Like, I'll never be able to put out a video like 10 ways to know she's going to be a monster in bed. Number 5 will surprise you. It almost seemed like a crapshoot. Because some of the best ones were like the quiet ones that had nice families. Some of the worst ones were like the biggest crazy train wreck you could think of. It's just one of those things. I don't know.
Yeah, and practically speaking, though, is that something you want to seek out, or is it something you should just enjoy when it happens? I'm more of the latter perspective, that it's better to enjoy it when it happens. Don't go actively and start doing pickup at the psych ward.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. But that's like, I know we're autism free on this show, but you can see so many guys are like actively looking for nines and tens, crazy girls that are great in bed, all this shit. It's like they seem to want the experience so they could brag about, oh, dude, I had this chick, and then, insert some bullshit that happened there, like she killed my dog, and oh my God. But they're not realizing when guys tell these stories, like yours about the stabbing, it's not a cool experience, and you would have preferred not to have it. But since you have it, I'll tell the story because it's a good story. But I would much rather tell you the story about how it just didn't work out between us, and I decided to leave. That's my impression, anyway. I've never been stabbed, so I can't say.
It's kind of like a general take that people who have punched someone in the face or have been punched in the face,
Yeah,
tend to not want that to happen again.
yeah,
Because you'll never see the guy you really don't want to fight with is the guy who's trying his fucking hardest to de-escalate the situation. Because even if you win a fight, the consequences of it, like if you're using fists, you're probably going to break a couple of metatarsals in your hand.
Oh, easily. A lot of
Your
people
hands
don't remember that too, that you
easily
break
going
your hand more often than anything.
Yeah, that's why if you have to punch someone, use a palm strike or an elbow.
Mhm.
But back to the point, and usually the other dude will get some hits in, even if you win. So you have a black eye, you're bruised up, and all. It's just
Shirt's ripped.
too much shit to deal with. It's not really worth the situation unless it's one of those situations where it's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to have to throw down here on principle.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, especially like in the States, there's so many fucking people with guns, and you never know if the guy you're fighting with has a gun or his buddy has a gun. In England, you never know if someone has a knife or a screwdriver or whatever. And so I think that's more of like an old school thing, back when people actually had fist fights, and where there was a certain rule of engagement where if two guys are going to fight, once someone hits the ground, it's over.
Yeah,
no
don't jump
jumping
in to help them.
etc. Yeah, when you had those kind of rules of engagement, it was fair enough to fight. But at this stage, where it's usually going to involve weapons, it's going to involve his buddies jumping in, someone kicking you while you're down or whatever. It's just not a good situation to be in.
Oh, I agree. I think you had actually a really good tweet on that one where you said a lot of these gym bros don't realize that the age of like fisticuffs is over. It's like smart guys learn to fuck you over without even having to touch you. It's kind of true.
Oh yeah, and Brazil. Yeah, and I might get some shit for this, but you really don't want to go to the ground to do Brazilian jiu-jitsu in a street fight.
My wrestling buddy taught me that.
You don't want.
Oh, go.
No, there are some things you don't want to do. Like I don't have the most experience fighting, but generally any kind of kicks that put you in a risk situation, any kind of going to the ground, those are things you want to avoid.
Yeah, I agree. My wrestling buddies, they were like a wrestling family. One almost went to the Olympics. His big thing was he always loved those guys. They never picked fight with him because he's 300 pounds. But he goes, yeah, they don't realize a lot of guys, like the floor is their weapon. And just going to the ground with somebody, sometimes a guy just going with you and throwing his weight behind it as you're tossing him can fucking crack your head off the pavement. And that's not going to be good. Especially if you hit like a curb or some shit. I think people forget that life isn't made of soft mats. Kind of like the boxing reference you used before. Yeah. When you punch somebody in the head, you're going to break your hand. And that's why boxers don't pick street fights.
It's also why boxers wear fucking gloves.
Also true. I guess quick pause here for Mark Daniels, Mark Inspiration. We'll do his $50 super chat. Guatemala, lived there 6 years. You drive however you want to, come back, pulled over twice for driving like a maniac. After a $350 ticket, I slowed down and realized I was back in the US. I forgot how to drive here. Dude, how funny is that? It's like the same thing. Still thinking like you're driving in Guatemala.
Well, I remember taking a taxi in Tanzania once. And this was in the middle of the fucking night on like a gravel road in the middle of fucking nowhere going from the airport to the hotel.
Right.
The driver is driving this like old Mercedes, you know, the ones you always see in like if there's a movie set in like East Berlin or in Berlin in the fucking 80s with spies in it, they're that type of Mercedes. And this dude was doing like 120, 130 kilometers per hour on a single lane road. And you see the headlights of another car ahead, and he's like, he just keeps driving, and I'm like, dude, there's another car coming. What's gonna happen? Oh, don't worry, he'll chicken out. He's just gonna blew past.
Jesus
Like I've never
Christ.
needed a drink as much in my life as when I arrived in that fucking hotel bar, man.
That's one of those guys. Give him some money. He's like, oh, I have to pretend like I have something to live for now. God damn it. Jesus.
It was the same thing I had with a dude I used to work with. He was negotiating a contract during the first U.S. invasion of Iraq.
Yeah.
And he wasn't a big fan of flying at that time. But the way he put it, when you've flown into the airport in Baghdad while it's being fired upon by U.S. artillery, you tend to not be worried about flying anymore.
I loved that. That was actually my favorite part of my deployment was like the very few times we were actually in danger. Like I remember at one point my mom was having her birthday and I was calling her on our voice over IP to wish her happy birthday. And she goes, "What's that sound in the background?" I didn't know what it well, I kind of knew what it was. It was our operations room. There's usually an alarm going off. There's always alarms. I knew it was something to do with weapons because we're going through the Straits of Hormuz. And then I found out later it's because Iran was saber rattling and the 7th Fleet was coming in and they were locking on all of their shore missile batteries onto us, and that big beeping sound was us picking up the radar. It just seems so surreal that it's like, hey, World War III is about to start, but hey, what are you up to? You gonna go get a massage or what's up? What's that sound? Oh, don't worry about that. That's nothing. I still laugh at stuff like
And
that.
in reference to Mustangs in chat here, broken hands aren't fun. The most basic tasks become painful at best, impossible at worst. Yeah, remember I told you the story when I fucked up in the gym and dislocated my shoulder and injured a nerve?
Oh yeah, dude, that's a while back now.
Yeah, it's good again now, but for like 10 weeks, I had like no strength at all in my left hand.
Oh,
So I
even
had
in
to
the
do
hand.
everything. Yeah, like the thing, I couldn't move. I woke up the next morning, I couldn't move any of my fingers. It was that bad.
Jesus.
And that was painful just making do with one fucking hand. You have any idea how hard it is to strain fucking pasta with one hand?
Serves you right for trying to eat carbohydrates, god damn it.
Yeah, the only one I have now is I do have a cut on one of my fingers that I cut really deep with a chef's knife, where I have
Right.
no feeling to it. But other than that, the hand is back to normal.
See, for me, the big one was when I got hit by that car in 2015, 14. I can't remember which. I haven't talked about it in a while. That guy doored me in Montreal while I was the typical West Coaster biking to work. Same thing. It wasn't so much like I almost lost 2 fingers. They had to reattach those. I had some nerve damage on my side, eye bone on the right. My entire right side of my body for like 6 weeks. Couldn't do anything. Even being left-handed, not having the right hand around, I didn't realize how hard it was just to do menial functional tasks. And that's to this day. And I think this is why older people don't fight much because they've been injured before, so they know it sucks. I think young guys full of piss and vinegar haven't been injured yet, so they don't know how much it sucks to walk around with a broken hand or how much it really sucks when you pull a shoulder at the gym and now you can't lift for 6 months, but you had to get that extra 5 pounds on your personal record. It's like an impatience thing too, as well as like a shifting your mental mindset. But that one, I will admit, that shifts quick. When a guy gets his first gym injury, he automatically learns to be like warm up properly at the gym and to be better with his form. I wonder what the equivalent would be of getting injured in the sexual marketplace. Do you stop acting like an unattractive dude with chicks?
Well, I did hear about a couple of dudes who broke their dick.
Good old penile fractures.
But usually that happens with the girl on top, and I think reverse cowgirl is the one where you have the highest risk of breaking your dick.
Oh, I did not know that.
I know because I read an article about a dude who broke his dick, and like how he had to have it in a fucking cast and shit for weeks. And at that point, I was like, okay, I need to figure out how to minimize the risk of this happening.
The fuck does a dick cast
And I
even
kind of
look
found
like? Popsicle sticks?
they didn't show pictures.
Oh, fair enough.
But anyway, so I just found out that cowgirl and reverse cowgirl are the most dangerous ones. Cowgirl can work, but the whole idea when she's bouncing up and down on you,
Yeah, slip out
that's
once.
where the danger is.
I've heard too about the story where it sounds like you're cracking your knuckle, and it doesn't hurt for like the first 5 seconds, so that audio is like giving you 4 seconds to enjoy life before your world comes crashing down. But beyond that, I've never experienced it, thank God.
So it was just one of those. There are certain injuries one needs to preemptively avoid. It's good risk management.
Good risk management. I like that. But I mean, those work. Like an injury, people stop getting injured twice. It's like being zeroed out. Sex, I guess that first divorce, or the first time the BPD chick tries to kill your dog, those kind of slow you down. I don't know if there's some kind of money version. Like a guy comes into a lot of money, goes bankrupt. I'd argue if it's a lottery winning, the problem is they don't get a second chance at it. So there's really no learning experience from it. There's no being zeroed out with money. Unless there's something I'm missing.
Yeah. Well, I'd also say that if it's a lottery winning, you didn't put in the work. It's something you get for free. So it's different than if you earned it yourself and then lose it. Because then you kind of have to adapt back to it. But if you just won money, then it's not going to be... You get it free, and then you lose it for free. But if you put like 20 years of your life into building yourself up, and you're back to being broke, that's probably a painful experience.
Yeah. I guess fair
enough. One of the best reasons I'd argue... It's one of the best reasons I'd say to actually educate yourself on money. Because like I did that for like the first couple of years when I started making really good money. I spent everything on all kinds of stupid shit. Like I probably dropped like $2,000 just on gold in World of Warcraft.
Oh, that's the thing where the pay-to-win games start looking attractive now. I got money to throw at it. You became the whale that they make these games for.
It's just one of those things you end up doing. You end up spending money to do things that you don't want to do in the first place.
Right.
Like, let's say I hate playing golf. So me going and buying expensive golf clubs would be a waste of time. Like, I like the drinking part of playing golf.
I was going to say.
I'm not a huge fan, but if I want an activity that involves me drinking with buddies, then I'd much rather go fishing on a boat or something.
Oh, see, I'm the other way. I hate fishing. I don't like serious golfing. And I always hate those guys that buy ping gear, but still do like triple bogey golf. I'm like, I can do triple bogey golf with these Canadian Tire rackets. I'm perfectly fine. I'm the guy out there with like the rusted clubs who plays just as good as the really switched on guy who can't golf. But for me, it's just 4 hours. I think it's the same as fishing, though. It's not about the golf. It's 4 hours in the sun with your buddies, have a couple drinks, and nobody can really bother you because you're out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the attractiveness of that type of thing. That's why I've always said, like, the cabin by the lake is my ideal retirement. Mm-hmm. Because it's far enough from people that people can't just bother you for no fucking reason.
Get off my lawn.
Because I've had to have the, no, you just don't drop by, you call first, talk with a lot of people in my life.
People still do that? That's something I ditched in college. Talk with people. Jesus.
Because just dropping by is annoying.
Yeah. Well, it's not just that. A lot of the times, like, people have schedules when they become adults, do adult things. So they can drop by and maybe I have 10 minutes, but I'm on my way out to get some things done and I can't coddle you for the next 45 minutes because that fucks up my whole schedule. But then you put you in that weird situation because you don't want to be rude about it and you like the guy, but it's kind of annoying. And you don't want to take him grocery shopping with you. It's like just a chat. Yeah, I could see you having that talk. It's just, just give it a call first. Give me a call first. Fuck.
Yeah, it's just a matter of, like, most people have full schedules. And, like, even on short notice for things I want to do, it can be hard sometimes. And that's also one of those things you have to adapt to, being actually busy. Mm-hmm. Because it's kind of funny how, when I wasn't busy, I used to think I didn't have time for anything. Now that I'm actually really busy, I find that I have time for a lot of things. Because you think about time differently.
Keep going. I'm curious where you're going with this one.
Well, it was just on the basis, like, usually people waste a lot of their time doing dumb shit.
Right.
Like, they'll watch TV, they'll spend 4 hours on fucking TikTok or on social media, or they'll just generally spend 45 minutes making fucking egg salad. And a lot of the time, if you don't have a lot of time available to you because you're busy, you learn to be efficient with the time you have. When you're not busy, you can afford to waste time, so you feel like, oh, I don't have any time. I need to watch 4 hours of CSI Boise.
Dude, I've heard new fathers talk about that too. My buddy was like that as soon as he had his kids. He's like, I don't get a chance to sleep, but for some reason he was like way more productive and way better use of his time. I think it's that constraint. Like, you know that, what's the rule where the amount of time it takes to do a task is going to be the amount of time that they've given you to do it? And you're always just like, fill the time.
I don't know the name, but yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
I just wish I remembered the name for it. It seems like one of those things.
Yeah, but it's like that because it's like that in the public sector all the time. Are you going to eat on cam again?
No. Long story. I'll fill you in later. But public sector.
Yeah, it's one of those things where when you work with private sector startups, you notice how fast things can be done. It's like, okay, we need to make a rocket that can self-land. I was like, okay, give us 45 minutes and a carton of duct tape. Public sector, it's like, okay, you want to buy a stapler. Okay, we're going to have you fill out this form. Then you're going to have to show up with a PowerPoint presentation for next week's meeting so they can decide, here your justification for why you need the stapler. And then after that, it will go up to the budgeting office, and then it will go back from the budgeting office to the approvals office, then it will go to purchasing, and then you'll have your stapler in 6 to 8 months.
Yeah, and I know why. They did the same thing that like airport security does, because some asshole stole staplers and made $1 million 10 years ago. So they made part of the policy was to account for every sociopathic asshole trying to skim off the top, or every outraged public outcry for accountability. And then you end up with this hodgepodge of like brutal bureaucracy. And it's never based on any plan. It's always based on fixing the last screw up and just adding to it. It's like a beast. Ooh.
Yeah, but you have this concept. It's starting to get a lot of attention in drug policy. Mm-hmm. Where I think it's called controlled damage.
Right.
And what that comes down to is essentially, let's say you use law enforcement to chase drug users. Then, okay, the drug users are being injured by their use of drugs and by the police. So you get double injury. Or rather, the police seem to act as a force amplifier for the damage already being done because you get rushed injections and so on. And what you're talking about here is the exact same thing in a public sector context. Because what's happening is because you have to account for every sociopathic asshole, you end up injuring your own organization because you're trying to defend from them. Instead of accepting that, okay, X amount of people are going to rip us off for X million. That's a cost of doing business.
It's a much more elegant solution. And I think that counts for not just money and not just business. I think that's everything. Like even with chicks, you're dating 50 chicks, you just know by the numbers, there's probably going to be 2 crazies in there. Enjoy the experience when it happens, like you were just saying, but don't actively look for it. The numbers will play themselves out. I think that's important too for like a reality standpoint. Like, you know, I mean, it's Twitter or it's social media or it's YouTube, and everybody's talking about how every chick is simultaneously the war room mastermind sociopathic girl ready to take half of your shit as soon as she gets a minute. And a fuck trophy. And on the other hand, they're babbling idiots, just emotionally driven. To which you had the best answer ever. Oh, I just went and tried it out. Turns out girls are just humans like everybody else. A lot of stupidity, a lot of normal stuff, and it's fine. All this crap you guys are worried about never happened.
I think that comes down to the fact that you always have to create new shit. Mm-hmm. And what kind of bothered me with that is there are some things you can create like rules of thumb for.
Right.
Like, AWOLT is one of them. We're not saying all girls are the same, but we're saying that all girls as humans have these certain innate traits that all of them do. And they have these responses that all of them do. And that's just a fair enough. Or, the branch swinging thing is the same thing. You just identify a pattern that a certain amount of the population have, and you kind of say, okay, it's enough that you should assume that this pattern is in the whole population.
Yeah.
But then people need to create original content, and then they have to come up with these weird-ass fucking things that don't fit. Like, they have to start putting green lines on everything and shit.
Yeah. If she threads her eyebrows, she belongs to the streets. Or something. More esoteric and obscure shit. And that's why why does everybody have to reinvent the wheel? I'll never understand that. Like, I've watched, how many things have you watched from, like, legal teams, like fitness magazines, great example. Strong List 5x5, the 8x8s, Giraldi methods, like, these things have been around for 70 years. And a lot of people just keep recycling them and talk about it as if they're new. Of course, a lot of people make brand new stuff too, but that's what I mean. You can rehash the same old thing. Because you're getting guys that watch sitcoms for like 10 years and nothing changes from episode to episode. So TV has somehow figured out that you don't need to change and you can still be entertaining over the long term. I just don't get why people don't do that. My running theory is that people are talentless, and if you're talentless, novelty is the only thing you got going for you, and that's why you got to lean on to it. But like I said, that's more of like that's like my ego talking, so I don't know if it's right.
I do think novelty is a factor, and I also think a lot of it is Dunning-Kruger. I think Dunning-Kruger has kind of become the ethos of our generation.
Mm-hmm.
In that we are being led by people who think they know a lot, but in reality, they know a little piece of the full picture. So, like, you have these people like, oh yeah, I started eating just the T-bone steaks, cooked in butter, and I lost weight. No, that's the only way to do it. And like, the calorie deficit is the ironclad rule of weight loss.
Yeah.
How many variants and gimmicky variants have you seen on creating a calorie deficit?
Oh, dude, it's every week. Like, let me think. Just off the top of my head, you got veganism, you got the high carb, low fat diet, you got Atkins, you got keto, you got paleo, you got what's the Catholic one? I want to say Lithuanian. You know the one where you can only eat like fish on Fridays? Presbyterian
or whatever.
That's the one. I know I'm missing a bunch there. Oh, the raw foodies. There's those ones that eat air, which I can't believe that's still a thing. Although a lot of people died on that one, so that kind of weeded itself out. I think that's the issue, is that this stuff won't kill you, and so as long as it doesn't kill you, nobody gets called out. It's like what's that? Everybody's an expert in a bear market or a bull market. It's like that, but for life, because we don't die
we'll
anymore.
Go through these super. I just want to add one more thing to the whole diet thing. The one study I found that made the most logical sense to me was done on cows. Because cows, like us, have calorie requirements, and they have protein requirements, energy requirements, and fat requirements. And what they tested is when they fed cows low protein foods, the cows would continue to eat too many calories to hit their protein.
Oh.
But when they gave the cows a high protein diet, they would stop when they'd filled their daily quota of protein and energy. So my theory based on that is that if you hit your protein goal for the day, then you won't be physically hungry anymore.
That makes sense. Actually, that totally makes sense, because my stepdad was all about growing alfalfa, and I know way too much about that plant, and the fact that it has a higher protein than just standard grass kind of makes sense then why he was so hooked on it, because it was cheaper and easier to store hay for the season when you had it mixed in with alfalfa. Huh.
And one of the things I've noticed, because like everyone, I've been slipping a bit on my diet during COVID. Mm-hmm. And one thing I noticed that when you switch your diet around and you eliminate a lot of the processed shit, what you're really getting rid of are things that contain too many calories for your serving.
Yeah. Oh,
So
100%.
let's say, because like I've generally had the rule of thumb when I do my own food:
Right.
one carb source, one vegetable source, one protein source.
Oh, the thirds. Yeah,
So
that's
let's
like
say
a oldest time
so
kind of system.
like you could have a steak with a baked potato and a mixed green salad, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can have a pasta bolognese with the pasta and the meat sauce on it, whatever.
Right.
But what I noticed is a lot of the trends or a lot of the fast food, they double carb. So you get the burger with the bun and you get the fries.
Breaded
Or you
fries.
get the lasagna and you get the lasagna with the garlic bread. Or like the pizza with breadsticks or whatever. So you double dip in your carb source, and carbs are really only there to give you energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the old Stan Efferding thing. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the White Rhino.
It sounds familiar, but I can't
he was-
place it.
Yeah, he did the diet for Brian Shaw and Haftor.
Okay.
And his thing was kind of easy. You're eating meat and rice with some vegetable sources added in. And then they got them like one meal of either a sweet potato or a baked potato just so they wouldn't get sick of the fucking rice. Because his whole thing was, for guys who need to eat 10,000 calories a day, rice is the most efficient because you don't really get full from rice. That's where the old thing with you get hungry after 2 hours when you eat Chinese food.
Right.
Because rice is processed really efficiently in the body. And I don't think there is such a thing as like a rice allergy. And then on top of that, red meat, it just gets broken down usually in the stomach. It doesn't go through your full digestive process.
Oh, so it's broken down before it hits the intestines.
Yeah, or reduced at least. So you don't get full, because that was like Brian Sharp's problem, because he was like, yeah, I'm sitting on the toilet trying to take a shit while I'm eating pizza because I need to get calories in.
You're singularly focused at that point. Dude, I think I've rarely had like a morning coffee while I was sitting on the toilet. And even then I'm like, this is probably not good. I couldn't imagine sitting there with a pizza.
And Drew is really on point with if you want to eat a lot, look at the sumo. Those guys, they put away, is it changa it's called? It's like a meat and vegetable stew with a ton of fucking rice.
Oh yeah, the sumo soup. I remember that. It's like a big thing, and it's the young sumos make it for the old ones. It's something like 10,000 calorie days too.
Yeah, and the benefit of like the excess protein too is even if you overeat on protein, you end up excreting a bunch of it, and it's really hard to convert protein to glucose via it's called abidunogenesis, I think, and then store that again as fat. It's very energy driving in the body.
Yeah, for protein to convert it to carbohydrate or to, like you said, not glucose or glucosamine, whatever the chemical's called, it takes 1 kilocalorie of energy, and protein is only 4 kilocalories per gram. Same as carbs. But that's the thing. You automatically get, just from that simple process, converting protein to carbohydrates, 25% off the top. So I don't know about anybody, but overeating by 25% on the regular, and then just being able to eat that deficiency or eat that excess, it's almost like a superpower. But then again, there's cost with it. I think it's like calcium buildups, or I can't remember what it was. But I mean, it's like with anything. But that's why keto or paleo did so well. It's just because people stopped eating processed foods because, like you said, double carbs, higher calories. I think it's the compression ratio that gets people. Like chewing on a sugarcane root versus eating 5 sugar cubes in a sitting. It's just the amount of work you have to get for what you're getting. Although,
yeah,
I don't know, here, let's do the money question.
I remember
Do you want to do the money question?
One last comment.
Right.
Yeah, we'll do the money question. Just one last comment on the food. I noticed that whole thing when I was doing a really clean bulk on just chicken and broccoli.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any idea how much food you have to fucking shove in your gullet to hit 3,000 calories a day on chicken and broccoli?
Of course I do. Dude, broccoli is one of those foods, you don't even count it in your calories. You're like, add as much broccoli as you want. You'll never overeat it. I could see
Okay,
you
so,
being the guy that had to eat
uh,
like a spoonful of olive oil just to round out some calories in your diet.
I did do that at one point, but shooting olive oil is not good. I ended up puking after that. Then I
Oh,
had to eat more chicken and more broccoli.
all right.
But
So here, this
anyway,
one's money
yeah,
question.
political cultural events as signals to invest. There's a book called One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch that has some of the basics of it, but it's more about that's more about my reasoning and what I've learned because I've read virtually every investment book that's ever been written. The one I haven't, well, I've read Poor Charlie's back in the day. So I think I've read just about everything. And the cultural signal thing, it comes down to that most of the drivers for a business success isn't the business itself, it's external to the business. Because if you're in an industry, if that industry tanks, let's say you're in slave trading and we're in 1950, you're not going to be making a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
And once you start to notice that you have the political situation, you have the economic situation, which is going to count for excess income, unemployment, and so on, you have social factors that play into it. And then you have the legal circumstances. So, like, my argument for pot is simple. There's a lot of political will, and they're after the tax revenue. And there's a lot of good drivers behind that case. Economically speaking, we have a lot of people that have excess money that they want to spend on things. And especially drugs are becoming more and more popular, and a lot of people are getting more health conscious, and weed is a better choice than alcohol. Then you have the social factor, which you see if you're on social media, you see the weed hashtags are crowding up more and more and more space. And it's becoming socially acceptable to smoke weed in most of the Americas, counting South America, plus Mexico's on their path to legalization. The US are going to get there. You see movements in Europe. So that's going to be a market of give or take 800 million people.
So how do you tell the difference between
And
stuff
then
like that and astroturfing?
you mean astroturfing as in, big corporations pretending to be grassroots?
Yeah, like faking this kind of emergent growth. Or is it kind of obvious? Is it just
Well,
one
you
of
have
those
to
things
look.
that you're intuitively good at once you start looking into it?
It's one of those things that I don't care about.
Oh.
Because if someone's putting the money into AstroTurf,
Mm-hmm.
that means there's actually money behind it. So that's actually positive. Because the Koch brothers aren't going to put $200 million into AstroTurfing a grassroots movement to legalize weed, unless they're planning to make big money on weed.
Fair enough.
So that's actually positive. What you need to AstroTurfing in the other direction, that's what you have to look into. Because if there's a genuine grassroots movement on one end and there's astroturfing on the other, that's actually a side that the other side is losing. Because you don't astroturf unless you astroturf when you want to do something on the positive side, but you only astroturf on not doing something side if you don't have a genuine grassroots movement, then you're losing traction.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, I gotta get better at
Because
that
the
stuff
whole
because I'm so confused now when I see like big corporate announcements and things that are changing, and I'm like, oh, that looks like a positive bit of growth for the company, and that ended up never working out. Its stocks would always drop until finally I realized, okay, so from an investor standpoint, what does this look like? And then from a societal standpoint, I take those broad things like you did there, and it tracks way better, way better.
Yeah, because I've always found that when I started doing investment, I was working bottom up.
Mm-hmm.
So I would start by reading corporate annual reports, digging into the notes, going very detail oriented. And that's extremely time consuming.
Right.
And most of the time, you're going to lose out on great investments because they don't look good on paper. But if you start to look at it from, okay, where are we as a society going to be in, let's say, 10 years? Okay, what are the major changes that are likely to come in the next 10 years? Well, we're going to have a big focus on sustainability. We're going to have to focus more on a green shift in order to help the environment and become less wasteful. Because you can make the argument like save the planet, fuck the planet. The argument here is that we have limited amount of resources and we have to stop wasting so fucking much of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just too many
So
people
that's
not
going to
to.
be one big. Yeah, the green wave is going to be a big one. And then you have the end of the war on drugs, which is going to be a pretty large shift for weed, which is likely to be legalized, and it's already kind of widely used. I think the average in the EU is about 25% of people under the age of 64 have tried weed.
Huh. I didn't realize it was that
And
big.
about 5 to 10% of people consume it regularly. So that's going to be a big market, and the younger generation are smoking more weed. Well, not smoking, edibles and vaping mostly. The healthier way to consume.
Typical Americans. You know what? This is great. Can we eat it? Oh yeah, we'll just put some butter in there.
And alcohol is sort of... They're starting with David Nutt and that British commission that got slammed by their own government. Alcohol is getting some kind of protests against it because people are actually starting to see how harmful of a substance it actually is.
Right.
So I expect the younger population to turn more towards the healthier alternative, which is either edibles or vaping cannabis. So that's going to be a big movement. So I don't expect alcohol to grow much. I expect alcohol to actually lose market share in the next 10 years.
Well, I already know it's moving to more artisanal, like small batch type stuff. The big giant like Budweiser is still big, but it's losing share to smaller stuff. Even the big brands like Molson here, they're starting to make like it's Molson Canadian IPAs, but they're like small batch. They're not selling them as if they were like the big macro brews. They're buying out small distilleries just so that way they can make small batches of this, that, and the other thing. So I think it's moving, it's balkanizing. But then I guess there's not going to be a huge market for triple IPA unfiltered beers, right?
No, I don't think so either, but I think the more consumer-friendly craft beers can do well, and I'm seeing that all over Europe too, that, yeah, the triple dry hop, triple IPAs, those are for like a select audience that kind of like those extreme beers. Like that's why BrewDog does like they do their special brews where you can buy like 2 bottles. All the bottles are numbered, and it's usually something insane like a 17% fucking Russian Imperial Stout or something, which are from like and those are for like the people who are specially interested in that type of product. But then you have a lot more like the Punk IPA, for instance, and the Punk Pale Ale, which are very they're filtered, so they're clear, they're drinkable. I think what's the Founders had one of the first ones, like the All Day IPA,
right?
Which is like a small batch craft. It tastes like a craft beer, but it's kind of big batch. And I think we're going to see that the third trend. I think we're going to see the start of the demise of the multinationals, large multinational faceless corporations. I think we're going to start to see the tide turning there.
That one I'm not so positive about. Why do you think that? Because I don't think that's at all. I think if anything, it's going to go more cyberpunk, where they're going to start becoming like government level powerful.
Well, I think once government start, because government don't like sharing power.
Mm-hmm.
And politicians, they like the corporate overlords' money, but they don't like business telling them what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think what you're going to see is government and big business are going to go from what they've had now, which is a sort of symbiosis, to a conflict. So I expect government to start trying to crush corporations starting in like the next 5-10 years.
Well, I hope you're right.
Going to use they're going to use the environmental question to push that through. I think that's going to be the leverage hammer.
I think the leverage hammer is going to be whatever China decides to do, because unless they're on board with it, nothing's going to happen. Either way.
Yeah, that's what don't be so saying. Google is getting chopped in 3, Amazon in 2, Facebook in at least 4.
Amazon only 2.
You might see the same thing with like Procter and Gamble, and you might see them split up into branches. Yeah, but
Surprised Disney not
Gator
on that
Tail
list
is
either.
awesome.
Disney just bought
Oh,
everything.
why would? Yeah, I think they might start going after them too. But I just think that's going to be a conflict coming because China has kind of proven like a quote unquote best practice model for having like a business sector that's relatively free while having a government that's sort of authoritarian. And I think that's going to become I think that's going to become a major concern. I agree with you on the cyberpunking thing, but we already have that. Okay,
Yeah, it could be worse, I guess,
Your
but we do.
opinion,
Yeah,
why-
yeah. Yeah, never mind. Yeah, we got
In
it.
your opinion, I like this question.
Yeah, why is this space so many attract so many pathological? Talk about a tonal shift. I'm gonna make a time note on this one here, dude. I got a good answer for it. Do you want to go first, or should I go first?
No, go first, and I'll go after.
All right. The reason there's so many pathological characters in this space is because this is the last stop before a fucking school shooting. And I know it sounds a little bit, self-selecting here, but you take a guy who's antisocial. What's he got in his life? He doesn't hang out with like co-ed groups. Girls don't want to be near him because he's creepy. Guys don't want to hang out with him because he gets him cock blocked every time he goes out. Probably had some really shitty parenting strategies. Doesn't know how to talk to people. Either dad wasn't around or not there. School, he basically just sits there, does his work. So he's essentially stunted his whole life. And then the only place left to go is on the internet to be a weirdo. The problem is there's no places for guys. Everything is like social justice-y. And I know this is like the whole feminism. Yeah, no. It's just a guy wanted to enjoy anything and he can't enjoy anything because now, the cis white male and that loud screeching female bullshit has edged out all the loud screaming male bullshit. And this is like the last place for them. And then the reason it gets so many pathological characters is because these guys are antisocial, naive, gullible, but they don't want to be. But pathological guys have one advantage, is that they look and sound confident. And the problem with that is people that look and sound confident, like a demagogue, will attract sycophants. And so it's a little self-selecting bubble that the sphere has, where Dunning-Kruger meets I need my Jordan Peterson dad 2.0, and they feed off each other. And that's why you're seeing like content creators that pander to stupidity and stupid people. Even in the chat here, you guys saw it at the beginning of the show, a bunch of guys like basically asking me to tart up this chat and tart up the cast. So I just remove them. But yeah, that's it. And they're not going anywhere because there's nowhere else for them to go. Like I said, the next spot, I guess you got 4chan. That's like the final frontier. But at that point, they gave up and they're just trying to see how low can they go before they hit rock bottom. That's my opinion on it. And you could take one of two approaches. One approach is your job, if you're here for infotainment or education or whatever, is to kind of offer them a better path, aka the Jordan Peterson route. Or your job, you could take like the Tate route and like, I'm just going to milk these guys for everything they're worth and fuck them. They should have learned, and maybe this lesson will teach them. And I think that's really the only two directions you can go. But that's the problem. The Jordan Peterson guys, they tend to get more positive over time. And the Tate side of guys, they tend to get absolutely worse over time.
The only thing I think I'd add to that is that there's also a certain momentum where this, let's call it a stew of various negative traits. It creates an environment where a lot of the people who could do a lot of value just don't want to be bothered with it. And I think the Red Pill Reddit is the prime example, because that space used to have value. There used to be a lot of good shit on there. But then one idiot, well, two idiots, one guy actively wrecked it, and the other idiot didn't actively try to preserve the space. And as a result, all the valuable content creators were driven out because they were like, this is our hobby. We're not going to sit here and have some jackass post memes at us and trash talk in chat for no fucking reason.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of creates this unfortunate situation where guys who could actually offer value and something good are driven out.
There's an economic law for that. I want to say it's Goeth's law, but I could have the name wrong, where bad money drives out the good.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, that was like an old Roman Empire thing. They would have coinage, like an ounce of gold is the coinage for the realm. They started switching gold for like a cheaper metal, but it was worth the same. And then within a couple years' time, the expensive currency gets basically driven out of the market because people can find a better use for it. And the only thing that's left is the cheaper currency. And they found out not just money, but it works like that with just about everything. If you can build a subpar version of it that works good enough, it'll always drive out the good over time.
No, I think that was a full answer to that question. Do you have any more super chats we want to handle?
I think one more and we can go back to our thing. There's a reason I call myself the ugly D equals filter.
Yeah, by the way, the PHP is Filipino pesos.
Oh, that makes sense. The Filipinos, everybody there is like a Santos, and it's all Spaniard. It was a Spanish colony, wasn't it?
Or Portuguese. Can remember.
Yeah. One of those ones. All right.
Here it's nice though. I kind of want to visit once they get rid of Duarte. I'll visit.
Well, isn't he like everybody's favorite guy now because he says like he's basically like saved the West but for Filipinos? He wants to throw communists out of choppers and all that other crap.
Well, I do agree with the concept of throwing communists out of choppers, but I don't like authoritarian leanings.
I'm with you. I don't know how to get around that. Like, it always seems like a temporary thing. If you can get non-authoritarian life, it always seems to be a fleeting moment. Like after the Cold War dropped, you had like the 1990s, and then we had to throw some terrorist authoritarian shit in there. You had 10 years, maybe.
Well, I read a book on that not too long ago, though, that society always needs an enemy.
Mm-hmm.
So, because that kind of galvanizes the people. It's sort of like... where you grew up, did you have like another small town nearby?
No, but I know what you're talking about. Or no, I guess technically for the sports teams we did.
Well, the point I'm getting at is the thing you need to create a group is an enemy. So let's say 50 guys from like small towns in Saskatchewan go to the same party. They'll fight because they're all from different small towns.
Right.
But if a bunch of Marines from Toronto show up, then all those Saskatchewan guys will fight the guys from Toronto because the fuckers from Toronto aren't from here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
If those guys then go over the border and they head into Detroit or some shit to go party, then they're going to fight the Americans because the fucking Americans are trying to tell them not to say sorry for everything.
Oh yeah, dude, military. Military would have been a perfect example for that because that's exactly how it was. On the ship, we're always making fun of the stupid Newfies or the guys from Ontario. But as soon as we hit the port, it's always like, yeah, leave the Canadians alone. 100%. It's just funny how the out group is so subjective depending on what situation you're in.
Yeah, and that's why you always get out groups. It's like you had to throw the terrorists in there because it was just too fucking peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
The blacks were starting to make noise in the 90s about police systematically beating the shit out of them. So you can't really do that overtly anymore. And then you just needed a good foreign enemy because there was no Soviet Union out there. So you had to kind of invent like a massive terrorist threat that was really more like a loose network of give or take people who hated America. And then you have to go after them with the full force of the U.S. military and the United Nations. And then that leads to those groups getting support from people who don't like the United Nations. And then they start to get good arms and they start to get training. And suddenly you have professionalized fucking terrorists.
Yep.
It's kind of like, I don't see, like, this might be a little bit ranty, but I just don't see why people have this hope that force can fix problems. Because we've kind of been seeing this with the war on drugs, where the cartels are getting more and more professional. They're buying better and better weapons. They're getting more into, let's say, pseudo-military action.
Right.
We're seeing the same thing in the war on terror, where you go from like two dudes in a cave doing an occasional suicide bombing
To ISIS
to
taking
organized,
land.
yeah, and to terrorist cells in every single major city. And that's being driven by the fact that you're catching all the fucking low-hanging fruit. Like, you see that with, I think weed dealers are a great example, because if you go back about 20 years, the guy you bought weed from was kind of an old hippie-type dude who just sold to a couple of buddies on the side to, finance his kale-growing business.
Mm-hmm.
But he was easy to catch because he didn't have any OPSEC in place. He was easy to rob because he didn't really believe in violence. So the police arrest him, and then you get some guy from MS-13 there with an AK-47 and 47 soldiers protecting him. And the consequence of that is, in your drive to get rid of that element, you actually force that element to evolve and adapt to a much harsher regime, which means you get even more violence, because the only people who can survive are the ones who are the most violent.
There's a COVID case for that too. You know how everybody's all worried about the variants and that? There's a medical argument made that you got to treat it the same way you treated the Black Plague. If you guys like the Black Plague, the one that killed like a third of Europe, and the virus didn't stop there because of social distancing. It stopped because a mutation, a less deadly strain of the Black Plague came in, and everybody got affected with it so quickly that they got immune to that one that was less deadly. And then when the deadly one came by, they already had the antibodies for it, so they weren't able to catch the deadly one anymore. And on the flip side of that, the concern now is that COVID, if you had just given it to everybody and front-loaded all of the damage, the more deadly variants wouldn't be able to get a foothold because everybody's already got the antibodies and immunity from it. I don't know how, if you want to put that with like 100% scientific rigor, or if this is me talking about voodoo soccer mom logic, but it follows the same thought process you had there.
Yeah, well, it's how they did the original pox vaccine back in the day, because they discovered that milkmaids rarely, if ever, got the lethal version of the pox, because they already had cowpox, which was not deadly to humans, but it gave you antibodies against the actual pox. So the vaccine was actually developed from those antibodies.
Oh. Which makes perfect sense.
And I'm completely with you on it, because it's kind of early we're going to have like a Truth and Reconciliation Commission in every country about how COVID was handled.
Fucking hope so, man. Oh, do I hope so.
And I think ultimately what they're going to land on is that most governments were woefully unprepared, and they were shooting... what's the phrase again? They were shooting mice with cannons.
Because the overreaction?
My reasoning is the only people who tend to die in great numbers from COVID are older people and people with pre-existing conditions. Those are like a minority. You could have socially isolated them and then sorted the rest out.
Yeah, everybody else catch it. Not deadly for them. They get immunity from it. There's your herd immunity right there, and it gives you tons of breathing room for a normal, proper vaccine that has like a track record to it.
So I think that might have worked, but we'll see what happens there.
At this point, I just realized my girl just had her birthday, and she's like, "This is my second quarantine birthday," and I'm like, "Yep." I'm really gonna be pissed when it's my second quarantine birthday because mine's at the end of the year. Oh, fuck, I'll be pissed.
Yeah, have we been on topic this entire show? I don't think we've been on topic a single time in the show.
We're dancing around it. We totally are. It's about change and then adapting to change. And all these things are things that are changing and adapting. The booze industry, finances, how you think about things. Adapting to getting into fights now that you know you're going to break your hand when you get into a fight. It's, those critical thinking skills that everybody tells you should have nuance and critical thinking. Well, like, fuck, we're doing it for 2 hours here. With the only occasional digression is to talk shit about the sphere. And I always have time to talk shit about the sphere. I don't care. Fuck this place.
That's a fair point. I mean, I think that's one of those things, because like I wonder at some points, like, why are there so few people you can say, like, there's Rolo. He's been around the sphere actively for like 10, 15 years now.
Yeah.
But how many others are there? Mystery's out. I think Athel K is out.
Yeah, he's out.
Royce,
Dalrock's out.
Retired back in like 2008. Dalrock's gone. So Mystery hasn't been around the sphere for ages. Neil Strauss hasn't been around for ages.
Stefan Molyneux's trying to be here, and I guess he kind of counts. That's a good question.
I just got a good question in chat. Like, how's the liver disease rate on the strong, independent millennial women during the lockdown? Oh, holy shit.
Oh, dude, you don't even... Girls already had a drinking problem before COVID. After COVID, liquor store is like a half a block from my place. So I see the well-to-do white soccer moms going there and grabbing their liquor. They have shopping carts at the liquor store. I'll leave it at that. Unheard of for me. If you couldn't fit it in a basket, you shouldn't have been drinking it that day, is my thought. Except for Christmas. But it's not Christmas. It's fucking Tuesday, lady. I was watching ladies shove bottles of wine in like the bottom rack of like their baby stroller.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Oh, and they were lit too. They weren't walking in there because, well, I better pick something up for tonight. It's like, well, we're out of stuff. Better get something for tonight.
And I've been noticing that with my coworkers and people I do Zoom meetings with. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of happy people after lunch on Friday.
Oh, yeah. It's like a return to the 1960s, the 2 martini lunches. What was the topic? Oh, that was the topic on, like, why are people not still around?
Yeah.
Yeah, Cernovich. I would say he's probably one of the more longevity guys.
Yeah, but he's not really in the manosphere. Or did he make a comeback now that Donald Trump's over?
Yeah, in between election cycles, he always has to talk a little bit about shit that's not politics. But I think that's the thing. It's like the go-to topic in between American elections is to talk about how bad men have it. Because men are the primary audience. Chicks aren't watching Tim Pool talk about how great Trump is. It's fucking dudes who are like, I'm tired of Joe Rogan for a minute. I'm going to go watch Tim Pool. Or they want to watch... I would love to see a guy with a lisp and a coke habit talk to me about the election. Let's go watch some Cernovich. But that's the thing.
I haven't read or watched... But I think much of the reason is that you get to the point where I think both you and I are at, where looks, money, game has gotten fucking boring.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and you have to move to something else. And a lot of people end up doubling down on what they're already doing and just getting more extreme. And then you have people who kind of nudge off to other areas and end up finding those areas more interesting.
Yeah. Which is
and
fine
more
enough.
socially acceptable and widely approachable.
Yeah, you don't need to be single-dimensional your entire life. But I think that's, like, picture workout guys. How many times are you going to be able to put work progressive overload, deloading periods? Like, workout stuff is fairly straightforward. Hasn't changed much in 80, 90 years. Drew, correct me if I'm wrong. But then they switch over to personality thing. I think it's the branding is the difference. A lot of people don't know how to brand properly, and so they, instead of branding themselves, like Mike Thurston, great example, the Instagram fitness type guys. He does the YouTube videos, but it's more so about you like him as a personality, so you follow his workout stuff, as opposed to the workout stuff being particularly novel. But then that's the problem, is that guys aren't likable, but they still have a following, and I think that's when they have to do that shit like you're saying, where, well, I better start talking about tanning my asshole, because I don't have a personality to carry this fucking show. Oh, I still laugh at that one.
Yeah, they always create the enemy too. Like, they always create the outgroup.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my show, we're just the most well-educated people ever. We know what's really going on, and all these other normies have no clue. Fuck the normies.
Fuck them.
You are the elite.
You belong in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, the War Room. I laugh on that one too. I tweeted out some like goofy meme about making fun of guys who want to live in the war room or something like that. And then there was everybody in the chat like, "Oh, are you talking shit about this guy or this guy?" And I'm like, dude, there's like 5 war rooms right now. I don't know if you've been paying attention. I'm technically not talking shit about anybody. It's like calling something Chad.
No, but well, that's why I kind of enjoy like not being that much on Twitter because if I'm on my space Twitter account, I get annoyed. Because there's just, and I've blocked a lot of people, and let's see, how long is my fucking block list now? I'm curious.
I ditched mine back to 0. I went back to muting. Because a lot of those annoying people love to shit up my mentions, and according to the algorithm, it looks good. But then I just mute because I don't want to have to see it.
For me, it was mostly about getting rid of all the MAGA fuckers. And all
Biden already did that for you, man. You're welcome.
I like that comment, man. War room is the new man cave.
Yeah, it's a good one.
But it would be kind of ironic if you're in the war room shitting on guys with man caves.
There's another private community. Somebody sent me an article about that where they call themselves the man cave. Like that's their war room. And their argument was the old feminists telling men, like teaching men not to rape. But they were just saying, no, guys, we can do this, but we're just going to do it nicer. It was like that MRA, Paul Elam, like we can be even better feminist and please give us a whiff when we're done with it. It was like the most ridiculous thing ever. And I thought, who in the right fucking mind picked the man cave as their private community space name? It's like calling your private community cuckoldry. It's like, don't you know? People aren't supposed to like these things.
Plus, like, the man cave does sound like a gay bar even more so than the manosphere.
Yeah, at that point, just go full on. Call it the Blue Oyster. There's a Police Academy joke for all you 80s kids in the chat.
Oh, man. Next time I buy weed, I'm going to fucking rewatch, like, Police Academy 1 and 2, the good ones.
Oh, dude. The best part is when you watch 1 and you forgot there was just, like, titties in there for no reason at one point. You're like, man, the 80s had some good shit to it.
Well,
every movie needed to have them.
Funny thing, though, like, talking about change, because I have, like, a huge, like, 3 terabyte drive with just movies on it.
I have a 2 terabyte drive. I feel you.
And then I was going through that the other day because I downloaded a bunch of new shit, and the new computers with SSDs don't have that much storage space, so I just had to transfer a bunch of shit over. Mm-hmm. And I found this old movie called, I think it's called PU, or PCU, Politically Correct.
Oh, yeah, with Jeremy Piven, the Animal House remake.
Yeah, so I watched that one, and what I thought was kind of hilarious about that is just the cycles, because you had basically, like, the 50s, which everyone was a good, moral, upstanding trad con with a drinking problem.
Yeah.
And you had the 60s, where everyone just wanted to fucking do drugs. And the trad cons who wanted everyone to grow up as proper men with alcohol problems went nuts and started the war on drugs. Then you had, like, the 70s, which was kind of like a attempt to mix the two, so you had, like, suits, but you were still doing drugs. Then you had the 80s, which was basically suits, cocaine, and titties.
Yeah. Over the top.
The 90s where then you had the 90s where, like, the depressed kids of the people from the 70s started singing about how fucking depressed they were. And then you got to 2000, and you had all the political correctness shit because all the titties from the 80s was over the top. And then you got the early 2000s, which was like a anti-political correctness, where you had the fucking in wrestling you had D-Generation X, you had all these blue comedians like Dave Chappelle, you had Chris Rock, you had all these guys coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly, like, you have 2010s, you start to see the rumblings of the authoritarian political correctness again, and they start to work that in, and that kind of peaks in about 2018, 2019. And now when lockdown releases, I'm pretty sure people are going to do drugs and fuck like it's Woodstock 1969 again.
I'm assuming they're already doing that now. They'll just be able to do it socially for once. I don't know how to talk to people without using my cell phone and weed anymore. What do I do? Whatever. We're so screwed. I don't know how we're walking back some people. Like, I cannot believe how terrified people are of outside now. Never thought you'd be able to see that. And now it's at the point that people are screaming at each other. I don't think there's going to be a way for any political entity to say, okay, guys, calm the fuck down. We got a vaccine. You'll be okay. I think they're still going to go outside and be like germaphobes. I think there's going to be some weird autistic neat. What's that?
I do think you're going to see some of that, sanitizing spray everywhere. I think that's going to continue. I think it's going to take time to people to kind of dial back the level of anxiety they've been feeling, because I think we're at the peak now where government have used fear continuously since the 1950s to control the population. And at some point, when you're constantly scaring the shit out of the population, they're going to develop massive problems and anxiety.
You think?
And I think that's also the reason why anti-anxiety pills are going through the fucking roof. I think that's why people are drinking more, and I think that's why a lot of people are just smoking weed from the day they fucking get up until they go to bed.
I still can't understand that. Like, even the day drinking. Like, I day drink rarely. And I know the next day I'm like, I probably shouldn't do that again. But the guys who can day after day do the whole day of weed, I don't understand it. I guess it doesn't hit you as hard as booze either, right?
Years.
And there's no like hangover to it.
No, but I did that for a couple of years. And I think the reason why it works is there's no hangover. And you develop a fairly high THC tolerance.
Oh.
Like, I have a friend of mine, she was like, yeah, I was smoking weed all day, every day for like 3 years. And then I decided to stop for a while because they were bringing some drug testing at her job.
Mm-hmm.
And then she went over and saw her dealer about picking something up for someone else. And he's like, hey, I got this new shit, and do you want to try a hit? And she did like 2 pulls of the joint, and she's like, I'm fucked up now. I can't believe I was walking around like this, because in the end, you don't get fucked up anymore.
Which is weird. So it's almost like a psychological thing. Like how I don't get caffeine high off my coffee. I just drink it for like the ritual of it. So kind of like that?
Well, it's the same thing. Like, I never used to get dizzy when smoking cigarettes.
Right.
But if I occasionally have one now, because I still do socially, I'll get dizzy and I'll be like, fuck, I used to smoke 20 of these things a day. Or when I came off, like I did 31 days sober in January, I came back and I drank like 1 half-liter can of beer. I was like, okay, I'm actually feeling this fucking beer. I can't believe I used to drink like 6 of these and didn't feel shit.
Fuck, food's even like that. If you go on like a cut, you eat super healthy for a period of time, and then you eat something like a Twinkie, you get sick. I've noticed that.
Never eaten a Twinkie in my life.
It's an example. Pick any piece of shit food you want. I don't care. Wait, you've never eaten a Twinkie?
Yeah, but
the fuck?
No.
What kind of Euro trash are you? You don't know what you know what it is, right?
Yeah, I know what it is. It was just like, whenever I saw one at the store, it was never something where like, yeah, I'd like to spend like 300 fucking calories on that shit.
I just can't believe you would smoke weed every day for a couple years and then not once try a Twinkie. I have to call bullshit. There must be a Twinkie in there somewhere, but just you've wiped it from your memory because your brain cells were fried. I don't even know. I mean, whatever. I'm not going to argue this point, but fuck.
No, but it's the same like debate I've had with people, because like when it comes to like snacks, I tend to always go savory. It's very rare that I'll have like ice cream or candy.
But beef jerky's probably your thing.
No, not beef jerky. Like, I fucking hate beef jerky. But something like, let's say, Parma ham or some kind of cured salted ham. I absolutely love that shit. And charcuterie in general.
So you'll sit there and you just eat handfuls of meat.
Yeah, essentially. And big fan of olives. I do like chocolate, but it's one of those things I never have at the house, because like I can put a ton of chocolate away, so I just never keep it at the house.
I'm with you. If I can't eat, if I have it, I'll eat it. I don't save chocolate.
So I remember a buddy of mine. He used to be a boxer, and he used to have to do weight cuts to get into like his weight class.
Mm-hmm.
And this girl was like, how come you went up a weight class after we moved in together? And he's like, because you keep buying all this shit and keeping it at the house.
That's like the relationship thing. Like girls and guys, they have to adjust to each other's like eating styles. That's like the meme. Every time a girl gets into a relationship, she'll gain 20 pounds. It's because she starts eating the same as her guy does, not realizing that the guy outweighs her by 50 pounds. And then a lot of guys who are in super good shape but very like diligent about it start dating a young girl, and she starts bringing her shitty habits in there, and he ends up getting a dad bod. It's one of the first like relationship challenges is getting your diet on check.
But I'm kind of noticing that, like, I don't live with my girl, obviously, but the whole eating habit, because I never, ever keep snacks around the house. But she wants there to be snacks around here.
And she's probably one of those girls that can eat a bag of
here.
chips over like a month too, isn't she?
Yeah, of course.
Fucking assholes. That's what I call them.
She bought some kind of candies here, and I was like, okay, just leave them there. And I was like, 2 days later, they're fucking gone.
Yeah. All right, so do you want to handle this last...
salted ham, holy fuck. No, it's just kind of vomiting, like, wrap a Twinkie in salted ham. It's like, what the hell, man?
Well, it's one thing I kind of got from the girl, though, in China, the sweet and savory. It's a taste profile I'm not really used to in the West, but over there, they love it. Like, they'll have, like, desserts made with cheese, but not, like, what you would think of. They like cheddar cheese, but then they'll make it sweet. It's one of those things I'm starting to get used to.
That's one thing. It's kind of like the same thing you have with, like, dates wrapped in bacon or ham.
Yeah.
Which is nice, but it was just a kind of an actual fucking Twinkie wrapped in, like, expensive ham. I was like, what the fuck, man?
Well, how would you know?
Ham like that?
How do you know? Maybe Twinkies are the greatest tasting thing ever, and that's why they've been around for 80 years.
Well, I view Twinkies the way I view taking one up the ass. I've never tried it, but I'm pretty sure I wouldn't enjoy it.
Well, now you got me boxed into a corner. How am I going to walk out of that with talking about being pro getting pegged? All right, let's do this last super chat.
Yeah, by the way, I'm just waiting for that to kick in, by the way, in the manosphere. Some dude to come out like, yeah, it's masculine to be pegged.
Oh, dude. I wouldn't be surprised. The shit, I think I'm never going to be surprised, but then some shit. Like Stedman charging the Capitol, live streaming him breaking federal laws. I was just like, I gotta admit, the MBTI guy talking about the lizard people never saw it coming. He never saw it coming. The suntanning your balls is a good thing. I'm like, I never saw that coming either.
By the way, the morbid curiosity, is he in jail now, or did something more happen? Did he just get a fine, or what?
I don't know. I saw one article coming out saying that most of the guys at the Capitol riots won't do any jail time. They're just going to get fined. He's been deceptively quiet about it. Finally blocked me, by the way. I guess memeing him was like the bridge too far. I could call him names all day. But as soon as I started putting some text memes on his face, he's like, yeah, I'm out of here. Fuck this guy. So he and Riv have blocked me, so I don't know what they're up to anymore. All I remember is he was doing that GoFundMe for his legal fund, and then he tried it twice, and both times the company shut it down because it had something to do with Trump. So I guess his six-figure side hustle wasn't able to cover the costs. I don't know.
Yeah, I always find that funny when dudes who are brag about having money always end up being like, hey, PayPal me or GoFundMe.
Mm-hmm. And normally I wouldn't mind.
Like, ultimate irony.
Yeah, like I wouldn't mind, because remember the Dan Blitzerian thing where they found out he was charging his lifestyle to the corporate card, and everybody's like, oh, see, he's just faking being broke or faking being expensive. And I was like, you know what? That seems like the kind of thing a rich guy would actually do. Like, I think he does have money, and I think that's why he has money, because whatever his company's name is the one that he's charging all of the stupid shit to. That was the smartest thing ever.
Okay, so what's the voice setup? Well, it's the Yeti mic, and then I use a pair of SteelSeries headphones.
Yeah. Pretty straightforward.
Basically all of it.
Same here. I used to use the banana mixer, but I found that one always tended to grade. So after like 10 minutes on the conversation, my voice would start to get garbled. So I just trust in whatever natural ability this thing has to handle any of the EQ settings. So you guys aren't going to get radio quality sound from us. It's just not possible. And I'm not about to buy, what's that, the Rode thing? Like Rolo has it with the XLR Joe Rogan style microphone. the preamplifier in the desk. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going that route.
Yeah, and then the entire room done up in like what's that sound?
Oh, the audio foam.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck it. You know what? Whatever, guys. This is what it is. We're going to keep this one down and grungy. I'm already talking right now to a dude with a voice changer and a purge mask. I don't know what kind of production quality you're expecting, but I got a lamp with a colored gel light on it. That's what you get. All right, I guess we should end it off, though. I got more old lady birthday celebrations to go out with, and I'm assuming you're busy today, too. Rich's channel's holding Rule Zero for you guys. It's actually a good one. I'm sad I couldn't be there. They're going to talk about handling your finances in a LTR. Oh, he meant to disguise your voice. Do you want to let him know on that technology, or does it matter?
It's Morphex.
Oh, Morphex? I should probably try that too. Cool. Do this one day. Call it the Anon episode. I come on here with the voice changer and just a photo.
Yeah, you should probably do this voice.
Alvin, Simon, Theodore.
This is probably the funniest one. This is the chipmunk one.
Oh, Jesus Christ. And better quality at the Hawaiian shirt.
And then there's the Darth Vader voice.
Yeah, I remember you were using that for a while because it was the one filter that worked consistently for an entire 2-hour period.
No, that was this one.
Oh, okay. Furniture blankets are better than cheaper than audio foam. Yeah, that's the one thing I found when I was recording the audiobook. I tried the audio foam and it's such a pain in the ass to purchase and set up and all this shit. And the easiest thing was I just put a blanket over my head and then just spoke into the microphone. It killed all the things. All right, guys, I guess we got nothing else. We're running on fumes anyway. Thanks for sticking around to the channel. If you haven't read it, Carl's got Gendernomics. I got Fuck Files, but you guys have been here a while. Thank you for keeping the chat, for the most part, 99% autism-free. Huge shout-out to Wine More Please, who I haven't seen in a while. It's good to see you again, brother. I don't know. I guess